Again, good morning and welcome back to the 11th annual Palmer Home for Children Radiothon on SuperTalk Mississippi. Richard Cross and Paul Gallo. Before Paul joins us, I want to again say thank you to our friends at Coffee Central. We've got a coffee bar and a breakfast spread that is prepared here this morning. They've got two locations in DeSoto County, one in South Haven on Getwell and one in Hernando just off the historic town square. Visit one of their locations for breakfast, lunch, and, of course, coffee to learn why they were voted DeSoto's best coffee shop. I will vouch for them. Thank you very much for the coffee. Good morning, Paul Gallo.
Good morning. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I have got you loud and clear. It is great to have you. I wish you were here in person, but I am glad that you are joining us. If folks are watching on SuperTalk TV, they can see your lovely face, and if they're listening on one of our radio stations or online, they can hear that powerful baritone voice. What a great day this is.
Listen, let me just say this. I'm noticing the comparison of hair, and I want to tell you, doing this for 11 years is responsible for a lot of the hair being gone, which you will notice there is a lot more tension in the morning when you're looking at a blank board than in the afternoon. But there's a certain amount of stress over 11 years. But look, I thank you I thank you so very much, Richard, for taking the mantle this morning and doing the morning show. It is much appreciated. And starting off slow as always, but it is amazing how much the people do listen to the call and continue to donate to this very worthy cause.
Well, you say you start with a blank board, and that makes it more difficult. We just see how big of a hole you dig and all the ground we've got to make up in the afternoon when we get there as well. No, hey, one of the things, Paul, you've been a part of this state for so long. You spend 3 hours a morning, 5 days a week, 50 or so weeks a year with what is it you've said? The movers, shakers, and playmakers all throughout the state of Mississippi, and so you have seen firsthand the generosity from the entire state of Mississippi in so many areas, but especially for Palmer Home. And over the last decade, this has grown and grown and grown. And some of the people that you visit with on a daily basis absolutely fall into that category of being generous with their time and with their donations on this special day.
Yeah, Richard, I've always had a very soft spot for children, and it tears me up. I mean, it's one of those things I can see a lot of things, I can take a lot of things, but seeing a child mistreated is just it stabs me in a way that is. I think the way to relate to this was look into the eyes of your child or your grandchild, and just imagine them for a moment when you see them this morning, whether they're 6 months old or 6 years old. And this, imagine them being in that situation. We've had a chance to talk over the years, and there's a lot of things because of the privacy and everything else, excuse me, my vocal cords have not had a chance to wake up this morning. But there's a lot of things they can't tell you, but in what they can tell you over the years, and not only there, just being in the news and being in this position, we know some of the situations where these kids come from, some of the filthiest houses, some of the drug-infested environments that they're in, some of the battles between spouses. A lot of these kids sometimes, if Palmer Home wouldn't step in through their residency or through their foster program, or they reunite the parents, if one of the parents happens to be incarcerated, I have no idea what would happen to these kids. So when you look into the eyes of your child or your grandchild this morning, think about them being in this particular situation. I'll spend most of the morning giving reminders to about 500 people in the contact list. I'll make my contribution in just a little while of $300. And then I ask all of the politicians out there and candidates who want to be in office to take a moment and just $50, $100, whatever it is. And it does matter. And we need to get that board cranked up and going a little bit faster this morning. But you guys do a great job, and I appreciate it.
Well, as do you, and you have for so many years as a part of this special day. You know, Paul, you were talking a second ago about you wake up this morning, you see your child, you see your grandchild, you look them in the eyes, and to me the emotion that floods through there is love, right? You look into that child's eyes and you're reminded how much you love them. And that's what Palmer Home does for the children that live here, regardless of the circumstance from which they have come. They are providing a safe place in which they are shown true, unconditional love, which makes them feel safe. And no child should wake up in the morning and not feel safe.
One of the reasons I hate not being there, and I get a different perspective on life, also what really matters at my age, and also for the last 2 years battling cancer, and stage 3 cancer is nothing to smurf at. And luckily got it all clear and still battling some of the after effects of that. But you put a different perspective on what really matters. And a lot of times, like today, we get distracted, and we use those distractions to say, yeah, I was doing something else, I forgot to donate. Man, that doesn't cut it, because all year long, the money that you give today empowers those children to be in that environment for the rest of the year. So it does matter. No excuses. If you're a politician, don't tell me that you happen not to be listening, because we know you are. So, and I'm sending out some reminders also. So.
Well, and here you say no excuses, and we have made this easier and easier and easier, because even if one of your politician friends is not listening, we know they're scrolling through Twitter, and we know that you follow SuperTalk on Twitter, and there is a QR code right there. There is a link. There are so many ways that you can donate. You can go to our website, supertalk.fm/PalmerHome. You can donate online. If you're driving, we don't want you to text and drive. You can give us a call at 662-469-5533. You can talk to someone. They will take your secure donation over the phone, and whatever amount it is. And Paul, one of the beautiful things, I was talking with Whit Lewis about this just a moment ago, is the recurring donation, so that it's not just a one-time thing, whether it's $19 a month or $30 or $50 or $100 or any other amount that you want it to be. It can be just like those other things that you pay for on a monthly basis, where you are making an ongoing impact.
When you agree if somebody is on the borderline, all they got to do is visit that establishment, the place there. I mean, you see these kids and what they do, and what people need to know, and I think most people know this, Richard, that there's no government money that comes into that. Their faith base, the fabric that they have there, is not going to be threatened, because the state can't say anything and the federal government can't say anything with donations that they make or money that they make, because it's all coming from private sector. So we are the hands of God that every single day serve these kids, and have for so long, over 100 years. It's been, and to be honest, in today's world where we see, and I hate to bring this up, but the abortion issue is part of this, more now than ever before with Dobbs. The sex trade that we're learning more and more every day, and it just gets horrific. All of these things make me wish we had 4 or 5 more Palmer homes and more foster parents and everything else. Thank God for the corporate sponsors too, who put these people in their portfolio or in their funding mechanism, because that's been tremendously important.
Well, as we go throughout the day, one of the things that we're going to tell you about is some of the corporate partners who are joining forces with us and are putting up some challenges or some matching donations that are going to give you a chance to double up on the money that they have pledged throughout the course of the day. Again, you can go online to supertalk.fm/PalmerHome or 662-469-5533. You heard Paul Gallo say a second ago he's going to put his money where his mouth is. He's going to make his donation coming up in just a little while. I will do the exact same thing coming up later this afternoon. It has been a special part of our family. And, Paul, I know that you've found this throughout the year. And, by the way, I'm going to hold you over through the break into the final segment of the hour, if that's okay.
Well, I'm used to 3 hours, so I can squeeze in a little bit more.
Well, I was taken aback a second ago when you told me your vocal cords weren't woken up. I mean, I guess this is new for you, having to get up early and talk on the radio.
No, but usually what I do is I do some voice things early just to get him warmed up a little bit. But this morning, I think when I said good morning to you, that was the first thing I said this morning. So, um,
So what do
and
you do? Do you get up and you get in the shower and do the la 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 just to get it going, Paul, in the morning?
I'm in the studio about 3 o'clock, and I usually put in 3 hours of show prep before the airtime at 6. And I've cut that back. I used to do 3.5. I do 3 now. So in that
right.
time,
Sit
I'm
tight,
talking to myself. And we'll get
we
back
got more
to you.
coming up.
You got it.
supertalk.fm/Palmer Home. That's how you can give online. 662-469-5533. Do it over the phone. We want to hear from you. We want to update that number on the chalkboard. It is the Palmer Home for Children Radiothon on SuperTalk Mississippi.
You're listening to the Palmer Home for Children Radiothon here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Go to supertalk.fm/PalmerHome to help rescue and restore a child in need. Now, here's more.
When we came on the air this morning, we did not start with a blank slate on the chalkboard. Before one word was spoken today on SuperTalk Mississippi, we had already had an online donation for $100. We have bumped that number by $2,100 in this first hour of the show, and that's one of our favorite things. It's to look at the updates on the chalkboard. If you're watching on SuperTalk TV, you will see it, $2,200 in this first hour of the morning, and we know that much, much more is on the way. And here's the reason that we know that. Last year, you, along with many of our corporate partners doing matching gifts, helped us raise $343,000, and over the last decade, this being the 11th year of the Palmer Home for Children SuperTalk Mississippi Radiothon, over $2.4 million has been raised by you. It has been donated by you for the good work that is happening here. Paul, I do not want to mention this for it to be a downer. I want this to be a happy mention. A couple of years ago, we lost our dear friend and brother, JT, and this was an incredibly special day. Watching JT interact with the children here and just watching him beam ear to ear, that grin ear to ear, as he worked from 10 to 1 each year during this time slot with the JT show. I can't help but think about him and the impact that he and his show and his listeners had to this special day, and I know it's a day that he looked forward to every single year.
Yeah, those are some special memories. We tried to get him on the slide one time when we were back in the Columbus, at the Columbus facility. We almost got him there, but I mean, some wonderful memories. I think JT was the same way. He had a soft spot for kids, absolutely.
Yep.
And when you brought that up, there's just so many memories going through my mind about JT and all those years he was on the air. That took us all by surprise, and it was just it's a horrific loss for our family at TeleSouth. And then a couple of years later, it seems like all of a sudden I get a cancer diagnosis, and here we go again. I'm so thankful to the team of doctors and everything as far as the treatment. So it's one of those things. It's part of life. But again, at my age, I feel very lucky. I want to make sure we give back as much as we possibly can. And I enjoy doing the morning show, and we have so many things we still want to accomplish. Politics never ends. You know, and sometimes you just wonder if the world's going to end by Tuesday of next week. But there's always some lighter side stuff. There's always some good news at the end of the day. And it's a pleasure being able to bring that to this audience. Richard, you know this too. This incredible network, what Steve has done to put this most unusual network. It's paid benefits in so many different ways. And one of the ways is talking to Drake over the years. There were a lot of people in this state, from Biloxi to the Memphis line, that had no idea about Palmer Home and what they were doing. So above and beyond.
I'm raising my hand. I was one of those people. The first time we stepped on campus in Columbus for the radiothon. I had I didn't know. I was walking into it. It's like, okay, we're going to try and raise money for this children's home. And I got there, and it's like, okay, we took tours of the campus, and we met the children and the parents. It's like, this is unbelievable. Everybody needs to know about this.
And that financial recognition has been invaluable above and beyond this, because it brings in more corporate sponsors. It brings back people there, and all of a sudden they show up maybe 6 months later as house parents. It puts them in the foster program one way or the other. So there's so many facets, and I know you guys are going to be able to cover that today as far as reuniting parents who are going through some tough times and things such as that. But I mean, these kids, here's another thing. And is it not needed more today than ever? They get a work ethic. They understand discipline. They have a faith base, and you see them going out into the work in the real world, and they become productive citizens. And they never forget that opportunity that they got. But it is all of that. If we didn't have the donations, 6 months from now, we're going to hear where the Palmer home is shutting down, and that would be a tremendous loss. So
no, and that's not going to happen because of the generosity. So you have so many people that are loyal listeners. This is an opportunity for you to say thank you to Paul by making a donation. Also, those of you who spar with Paul Gallo, who don't see the world through the exact same lens.
Nobody spars.
You can do this in spite of Paul. In spite of Paul, you can make a donation to the Palmer home. My friend, we are celebrating your health today and every day. We are glad that you're here. Thanks for being with us, bud. Paul Gallo. More coming up. Palmer Home for Children Radiothon. SuperTalk.fm/Palmer.